I'll be spending the next 50 days in lost skies, building my own skyship, swinging through the sky, exploring its beautiful islands, and trying not to die. A big thanks to Bossa Games for sponsoring this video. Lost Skies is available on PC through Steam. You can build your own skyship and check it out for yourself through my link in the description. After waking up from cryostasis, I started day one talking to this computer. Turns out, this is a crashed ship called the Ark, and I've been awoken to help rehabilitate the outside world, which it sounds like something really bad happened to. The computer gave me this thing called a prism, and directed me to check the crafting station. In it, I could see a coral flare, makeshift cloth, and makeshift glider, none of which I could make yet because I didn't have anything at all. So I headed outside next to see a very alien-looking world, with islands floating in the sky. It was looking pretty obvious I was going to need that glider before going anywhere much here, and I started gathering things. Fiber, berries, mushrooms, and some extra shiny sticks. Oh, it was a branch. I even spotted this glowy looking bug thing floating around and caught it too, finding my first atlas dust. Pretty sure it has something to do with flying. I took all my goodies back and started work on the cloth for the glider, which also unlocked a bandage recipe, then made my glider and some bandages too before heading outside again. I tested the controls with a small jump before venturing into this cave. Ayah! I didn't get far, it was a little freaky looking and I changed my mind. Maybe I'll come back another time. I don't think I should go down there yet. Ooh, what's that? I grabbed this burning coral on my way out and decided maybe I'd follow these instructions up here next. Off the ledge we go. Yeah, okay, yeah. Ooh, it's gonna be tight. Okay. The glider went just far enough to make me a little nervous before reaching the next island, where this little flying robot was waiting. It seemed friendly, and I followed it to an entrance, where I got distracted by some more shiny things lying around on the ground. Another rock. Oh, back to the robot now. Hello. It led me down into this room with a pretty simple puzzle. We gotta push the button. You just have to push the buttons. I just got my sights set on the wrong button. This big glowy thing up here isn't a button at all, actually. Oh. I eventually found the right ones and got some climbing practice in. Then, through the next door, I climbed some more. Careful not to fall, I made my way to this ledge, where I found a corpse and a note. It said something about a defense turret going crazy and taking out their whole group. Looks like they dropped a pistol when they fell, though, and I don't suppose they'll mind me borrowing it. Ooh. I grabbed the ammo too and jumped across to the next area. There was a wall to climb there and a couple boxes that spit out some ammo. Then walked right into the turret. That hurt. Oh, it's you. Once I was done panicking, I got it together and used these rocks for cover to shoot from. Okay, I got it now. My new pistol dealt with it easily enough, and I collected its guts. More ammo and something called a power core, which is apparently useful for crafting things like batteries. I crafted one just for fun at this crafting station. Sure. Then made some cloth for my first pieces of armor. I didn't have enough for a full set yet, needing more fiber for cloth, so I headed up the stairs to find a door blocking my way out. It didn't take me long to find the button for it, and I thought I needed to climb at first to press it, eventually realizing I just had to shoot it. Oh, hello. That was unexpected. It was night now, and another glowy bug caught my eye. Wonder what it does when you shoot it. It just poofed, leaving behind more atlas dust for me to collect. Then I found another broken turret to fight. I finished it and didn't even see its friend till it was shooting at me. Ooh, nice to meet you too, buddy. I started gathering fiber next to finish my armor, eventually wandering into this interesting looking building. Of course, there was another turret out front. I took it out with my pistol before grabbing the goodies it was guarding. There was a crafting station here too, and I used it to make myself some breeches this time. I still need more cloth for the top, so instead of going into the building yet, I wanted to finish the set. I gathered the rest of the fiber I needed while taking a moment to admire the beauty of this place. All the floating rocks looked really interesting, but I didn't know yet just how awesome they really were. With plenty of fiber now, I headed back to the crafting station, making more ammo first, and then this igniter that I have no idea what to do with. Then finally finished up my armor with a chest plate. All armored up, I decided to check out another cave next, finding more coral and mushrooms. Then I finally went in that building to find a locked chest and a giant hole I just really wasn't sure about going down yet. Looks more dangerous. No. Instead, I made this new campfire stove outside and baked some berries and mushrooms. I don't think you have to eat, but the foods give health and stamina boosts. After that, I ended up a bit off track, looking at this big glowy block I wasn't ready for yet, doing a bit of Sarehorn science, and then wandering back into the first cave I'd seen. It was dark and I couldn't see very well through parts of it, except at the end where an opening lit everything up, and I thought for some reason I'd try shooting one of these rocks. I got excited when it started breaking, then I got a surprise I was not prepared for. These spider-looking things popped right out of the ground and started attacking me, so I tried running out that opening, only to find it was just a giant hole to the sky. No. Go, oh, it's a freaking hole. Then I ran in a circle for a bit before finally finding my way back out the original entrance. I went the wrong way. I'm lost. Yep, my instinct was right. Caves are bad. You know what I need? More ammo. All stocked up again, I decided to follow another of the robots that I'd seen before but ignored. I wasn't sure about going back in a cave, but it seemed like I was supposed to follow it next, and decided I just wouldn't shoot the rocks this time. It ended up leading me out of the cave in the end, and right to that building I'd been to before. When it landed, the chest inside unlocked, and despite being a little nervous, I decided I was definitely supposed to go in the hole. So in we go. At the bottom was another robot leading the way, and I followed this one to find a new toy. This grappling hook. Ooh. I tested it out and I was, well, hooked. Ooh. Whoopah. Oh, that's so much fun. Oh, wrong button. The grapple swing combined with the climbing had me feeling just like Spider-Man. Oh. Well, maybe more like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trying to figure out the controls. It took some effort, but I eventually managed to swing my way out of the training room, and onto this room with a blocked exit, some chests, and a new sort of puzzle. This one used the grappling hook as a wire to power up these pillars, which opened the exit. I don't know if I want to go this way or not. Am I really supposed to do that? The broken pieces of rock and road were floating out over nothing but sky, and I was a little afraid I might die. Turned out, though, I really didn't have to go that way, and it's a good thing because I'm definitely gonna need some more practice. I followed the rocks up to this higher island where I was greeted with more turrets, a few goodies, and even more turrets guarding another building. Once I dealt with them, inside I learned how to scan stuff with the prism the art computer had given me. I scanned this corpse, learning that these people were called Saborians. Then this thing called a databank that gave me a Saborian data disk. I scanned the switch too before flipping it, which sent this little robot off to lead me to my next objective. It was clearly leading me across these floating rocks and back to the first island with the ark on it. It just seemed a bit scary and I didn't really want to go. Okay. I went anyway, though. I was terrified I would fall, but kind of like a lot of things, it really wasn't that bad at all. Ooh! It was amazing, actually. Look at me. Oh, I forgot that button. I'm definitely still figuring things out, but I made it safely across, at least, and headed straight to the ARC computer where I'd started. This time, the computer opened up a tree of things to unlock, starting with something called a crude atlas lifter. The computer explained that the atlas dust can make things fly, and this lifter can be attached to things to make them float away, like that big rock I'd seen earlier blocking the door. Pretty excited, I made the crude atlas lifter, along with some coral flares from the chunks of burning coral I'd found, before following another robot back to the blocked door. It was simple enough. I put my lifter on the hotbar and threw it at the rock, which immediately started floating. Then I used my grapple hook to pull it away from the door, before trying to get my lifter back without the rock crushing me. With the opening clear, I headed inside to find lots of dangerous-looking, glowing orange. I didn't see any turrets though, and thought for a moment I was safe, until this thing started moving and opened up to spit out a drone. It took me a moment to switch back to my gun, and by the time I started shooting, it had already spit out another. I realized pretty quickly I was going to have to destroy the spawner, but first I had to get past all the little flying boogers. Once I dealt with most of them, I set my sights on the spawner and managed to destroy it. As I started shooting the last drone though, I ran out of bullets. Well, darn. I left for now and grappled back up to the Ark, going in to make myself some more ammo as the sun set. I went back that night to finish the last 2 drones and get the goodies. There was some new stuff, a printing matrix and this Seraph nano energy from the spawner, then another dead Saborian, and a surprise drone I'd missed. I tested the grappling hook yank on it before finishing it off and scanning the databank here for another data disk, which I took straight back to the Ark computer to unlock the shipyard. On day 4, I swung back across the rocks and started working on a pulse hammer and energy saw. Ooh! I needed more scrap metal to finish them. I need more metal. And ended up following another robot into this very pretty cave while I was at it. By lunch, I was able to finish the new tools and made this furnace before going to test them out. The pulse hammer is used to gather ore from these rocks, like the one I'd shot before with my pistol. And just like then, the spiders popped out of the ground and attacked. Ooh, no! Ah! Ooh, get off me. I know it says they're beetles, but they give me the heebie-jeebies either way, and I was thankful to have plenty of ammo this time to fight them off. No! What in the world? After finishing the last one, I went back to gathering more ore, expecting more spiders the whole time. But they never came. I guess I drew them all out with the first rock. At this point, I didn't fully understand how it worked, and kept blowing up the rocks before getting all the ore. You're supposed to hit the gold-colored chunks, and not the glowing base inside. I'll eventually figure it out though. At least the spiders are gone. With a hefty bit of iron ore, I was pretty happy to make my way out of the cave and took it all to smelt at my new furnace. And now I can use the iron ingots to finally make my first shipyard. Oh. As soon as it was built, I jumped straight into trying to build my first ship, but I'm obviously going to need some wood first. So I left the shipyard for now and took out my new energy saw. You sling it out like a frisbee at the tree, then have to get the timing right to keep slinging it back. It was tricky, and the first couple times I missed before getting it right on the 3rd attempt. Well, that's kind of fun. Several trees later, I went back to work on the beginnings of my new Skyship. I had some fun playing with the editor and made myself a little starter shape, only to realize I didn't have enough metal yet. Oops, just let me put a few things back. There we go, that looks like something I can afford. Everyone meet Bessie. Despite it being mostly just a frame of a ship so far, I was still pretty excited about it and got right to work adding something it needed called a Skyship core. It took an Atlas shard, which I made in the furnace, and metal ingots, which I needed more ore for. Back in the caves, I found another of the big rocks to mine, but the beetles were back again this time. I hate them so much. I fought them as usual for a moment until I had an idea. Look, I'm a spider too. Hanging from the grapple was working great, except you can't reload while you hang, so I managed to get myself on this ledge and reloaded there before finishing them off. I wondered if you could harvest them with the saw, and sure enough that worked, giving me fibrous sinew and motus meat. Sounds tasty. I finished gathering the ore next and headed back outside to smelt it. After that, using my boomerang saw to chop down some trees too, restocked my ammo, and then finally got back to working on my ship. I grappled up to it and started by placing the Skyship core, which seems pretty important and looks really cool too. I used it to register myself to the ship before building my first storage, this cute little barrel. It didn't have much space inside, but I dumped a few things and spent the rest of the day filling up the space I'd made with even more ore. Good thing I made more ammo. Need all the iron. With With the sky core on my ship, I could teleport up to it instead of grappling, and got right to work on the ship again the next morning. I built my first sail, added a new section of boat, put another sail on that, and then added this helm with some walls to finish it. Now it's starting to look more like a sky ship. Done building for now, my curiosity got the best of this sarehorn next. All I harvested from it was some meat, which I cooked up with the modus beetle meat, before spending the rest of the evening fighting more beetles. At the end of the day, I realized I could build myself a bed now, and stuck it right on top of my ship, hoping for a good night's rest, only to find you can't sleep in it. Well, I guess it's just for looks. So instead, I just sat on it for a while. I expanded my ship even more the morning of day 7, and added some stairs to the lower level. Tried putting the furnace on the ship, but I guess it would be a bit heavy, and it wouldn't let me. Then I moved the barrel and bed downstairs, which was really easy with the prism tool. I added a few more barrels for storage next, and headed off to explore what was above this cave. There was another turret guarding a data pad and some goodies, a big dark hole I wasn't ready to climb into, and another flying robot to follow. It led me straight to a drone spawner that I spent the rest of the evening fighting with. Once I took it out, I was able to go inside, where I completely forgot about the pillar puzzles and had no idea what to do with this big glowy diamond. Plus, I'd left my lifter back in one of those new barrels on the ship, so I couldn't do anything with this big boulder yet either. Guess it's back to the ship. As I glided back, I noticed a chest up in the building that you can't see from the ground and stopped to grab its goodies. Then added some lights in the ship before grabbing my lifter and heading back up to the cave. I threw in a coral flare to help me see and threw the lifter on the block, pulled it to the side using the grapple, and almost died trying to get the lifter back. Then behind that, the door was still locked. I still didn't realize this was one of the pillar puzzles, and all I needed to do was use my grapple to connect them, instead trying a few other things. I'll be back. It's fine. I discovered something new next when I noticed this barnacle-looking thing on the underside of the island, dangling a little precariously as I collected it. I found out it was Silica. It was a bit terrifying, really, knowing there was nowhere to glide to if I fell, but I was getting a little better at swinging. Now if I could just get better at shooting these drones. After clearing out a few more, I found a new puzzle. All I had to do was grapple or shoot the orange arrow to turn it, but too bad I didn't know that yet. So instead, I continued on to this kinda scary looking place. There were 3 drones guarding it, and these big glowing orange things I thought were turrets at first. When I got close though, they didn't do anything, and I tried shooting it. Then as I kept looking around, I found another one by this drone spawner that was green instead. I moved in quick and focused my attack on the spawner, trying to take it out before it could spit out too many drones. As soon as it exploded, a beam of green light shot out. Ooh, that's interesting. With that going, I decided I needed to move this big block out of the way with the lifter. It got a little out of hand though, and I was struggling to get it back when this happened. I was crushed, quite literally, and respawned at my skyship. Oops. I made my way back up and spent the first half of the day trying to figure out the puzzle. I was close, just had it a little backwards. You have to redirect the light from these relays and finally to a terminal, which in this case unlocks the door. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I ran straight inside, because of course there was a turret there. It knocked me down, but I got back up and knocked it down instead. Yep, give me your guts. Safe now, I found a data pad inside, 2 chests, and a data bank to scan for its disk. Then ended up going back to the other door I couldn't figure out before, finally realizing I just needed to connect the pillars. Thankfully there weren't any turrets or drones inside though, only another chest and a data bank to scan. I stopped for a moment to check out this mural on the wall. I didn't know what it meant and decided I'd found most of what there was to find here, heading back down to the shipyard. I baked some berries that evening and added even more storage on the ship. You know, it's about time we take old Bessie for a test drive. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing and set sail without sails at first. Oh, it's much faster with the sails. If I could just not smash into the floating rocks now. I didn't go far, just landing over by the ark so I could use the data disks I'd collected. This time I unlocked a research table and a crafting station I can build on my ship. In order to build them, I needed something called conductive vessels that I hadn't found yet, but the description says you can get them from Atlas-infused creatures, and since Atlas makes things fly, I'm gonna assume I can get it from these flying Manta. I took the opportunity when this one flew by and shot it with my pistol. It shot some blue goo at me, and I thought it'd be smart to try to grapple to it. This didn't help me shooting it at all, but sure made for a fun ride. When its buddies joined in, I made a run for it. After hiding long enough to use a bandage and heal, I went back to try again, this time a little more successfully. It fell and I used my energy saw to harvest it, collecting Manta meat and 4 of those conductive vessels I was needing. I needed 8 more and took out the rest of the Manta that were flying around, finishing this last one with the saw because I ran out of ammo. I also needed more silica and spent some time dangling under the island again. The nothingness below is still just terrifying, to be honest. I suppose the risk makes it a little more exciting though. One wrong move and I'll find out what happens if you fall. Is there a bottom, or would I just fall forever? With everything I needed, I flew the ship back to the shipyard to build my new research table and crafting station. I was expecting the research table to be like the unlock tree in the art computer, but turns out it was something completely different. Not sure what to do with that just yet. I know how to use this crafting table though. I spent most of the night and next morning swinging under the islands again. I was starting to get the hang of the grapple controls and was really feeling like Spider-Man now. Well, most of the time. Once I swung back up top, I had a look around to make sure I hadn't missed anything interesting, then decided it was time to go really test out my ship and find a new island. Down with the sails and off we go. I had no idea which way to go and found myself torn between the different islands I could see off in the distance. I headed first to one, enjoying this very pretty music. Then, can't remember why, but I changed my mind and headed off to this one instead. By the time I arrived, it was night, and I couldn't decide where to land, eventually landing at the highest part by these giant stone pillars. When I hopped off my ship to go check it out, I was greeted by this auto turret. It was level 4 and seemed a lot tougher than the ones I'd dealt with at the starter island, but careful to keep moving and not let it hit me, I managed to take it down. There was another around the side. I'd just already used up most of my ammo on the first one. I didn't have enough scrap metal to make more and spent the rest of the night looking for some. I found a few pieces along with another turret. Then these tomatoes and one more turret. Deterred slightly by the turrets, I made my way back and swung over to these little spike islands next, where, big surprise, there was yet another turret. There was some metal too, at least, and I grabbed it at the cost of getting shot, then almost got hit again when I grappled across to the next spike. Shoo, this place is plumb dangerous. After getting past yet another turret, I swung right into a crashed ark. Would you look at that? Inside, I chatted with the AI again, which ended up being the same Asa as before, and it had collected some new information from this ship. I used the crafting station there to turn the little bit of metal I'd found into ammo, then realized that mining ore would probably be a lot faster than searching for more scrap. I'll just have to deal with the creepy crawlies. Then I took it back and made a furnace to smelt it so I could turn it into ammo. Now I can take care of all these turrets around here. I dealt with this one first and started the puzzle it was guarding. Realizing I could use the grapple to hit these arrows, eventually turning them all up and unlocking the chest below. Inside it was some sort of schematic and something called a Saborian tech brief. Ooh, wonder what else I can find here. I headed across to another area guarded by turrets and started shooting one, only to end up in a fight with this buck instead. Excuse me, sir. I used the energy saw to harvest it and had to rearrange my storage a bit to pick up the meat, then got right back to the turret. Once the first one was down, I started checking out the place, not realizing how close I was to the next turret. Oops. And look, there's another one over there too. After a bit of panic, I found a safe spot and started picking off one, then moved to this rock to take out the last. I think I might take a little break back with Bessie for now. I needed to free up some inventory space anyway, and started by using that schematic I'd found at the research table. It unlocked a wooden connector for something, I wasn't sure what yet, and moved on to dumping the rest of my junk into barrels. Well, that's a little better. I went back with my pockets a little less full next, and started trying to figure out this pillar puzzle. You have to connect the pillars like before, but this time in the right order. The rocks at the bottom of each told the order, and I miscounted the first time, not seeing a rock hiding in the grass to make 5 for this last one. There we go. I got a new piece of armor out of the chest it unlocked, along with a schematic for what I think must be a ship-mounted gun. Fancy. It was back to the Spike Islands next, taking out the turret there. There was a signal relay to start here, with some target switches I needed to hit. I used my F key grapple to hit the first one, then swung over to the next. I suppose I probably could have shot them, but I'm not sure if my crude pistol would have shot that far. Either way, I was sure enjoying playing Spider-Man. Once I got all the switches hit, the light beamed up and over right to the next relay. I followed it and pointed the beam to the next one, continuing until I eventually hit the receiver, unlocking the chest. Inside it was a new pair of pants and a rifle schematic. That would have been useful just a minute ago for all those targets. Back on the ship, I unlocked it and the rustic scrapper ship-mounted gun on the research table, then decided to move my boat to a different part of the island. It was a bit of a rough move, but thankfully my boat made it in one piece and I got started setting up a furnace before noticing another relay puzzle. This one was a piece of cake, just 3 easy switches nearby to find and only 1 relay to direct. It got me a couple more schematics and tech briefs. I continued wandering a bit, finding dirty water in this box and ending up at this cave guarded by 2 auto turrets. I did a sloppy job of fighting them and followed this robot inside to find 2 more turrets. These weren't just any turrets though, these were shotgun turrets. And they sure pack a punch. As one of them sent me flying, these beetles must have heard all the commotion and joined in on the fun too. After I dealt with them, I took a break to collect this ore, which ended up being 10. Then I went right back in. I managed to deal with the shotgun turrets and collected the goodies they dropped. Inside, the robot was waiting very patiently, only going to its little station when I followed it. In this room, the walls were covered with green markings, and I found my grapple would only stick to this light instead of the walls. This made me lose my head for a moment, quite literally. Then I started making my way up. It was a bit tricky, but manageable, and at the top I found another data bank to scan and more pillars to electrify. Simple, yet satisfying. I rappelled my way down a hole to another set of pillars after that. Got a little sideways on this one at first. Once it was connected though, I got the goodies from the chests and hopped right down another hole. I was more trusting than I should have been. It dropped me right into a turret in a cave. Oh, hello there. My adventuring done for the day, I stopped back by the Ark where I crafted this new pulsar rifle I'd unlocked along with a ton of ammo. The next morning, I built a shipyard to dock my ship. My little crash had took out the crafting station, so I needed to build a new one, and you have to be in a shipyard bubble for that. This one turned out green because of the tin I used to make it, though at the time I was just pleasantly surprised by the color. I'd noticed some of my storage barrels were colored a bit different. Must have been the wood. I added a campfire on the ground by my furnace next. You can't put them on the ship. Don't worry, I tried that too. Then went back to seeing what else I could find on the island, hoping for more data disks. I ended up following a trail of relays through the caves, which led me straight to this shotgun turret, perfect for me to test out this new rifle. The rifle was a lot more powerful than the little pistol I'd had before, putting down the turret in no time. Then as I was heading over to the switch, its buddy surprised me. So I surprised it with my new rifle. Don't you like it? I flipped the switch after that, turning on the beam. I pointed the first one and then got distracted as I went around to the next one by this beetle. And off in the distance, a giant flying monster. That thing looks as big as one of these islands. I watched it for a moment before turning to deal with the bug. A new door inside the cave had caught my eye too, so I hit the 2 switches by it and another further in the cave to open it. It held a station for one of the robots I hadn't followed yet, and more green marked walls I couldn't grapple. I almost suffocated myself in a wall on the way. but they led to another set of pillars to connect. It took me 3 tries to figure this one out, opening the barrier to this chest and a databank. Then I dropped blindly down another hole, thankful to find there weren't turrets waiting on me this time, only a nice little chest with some goodies inside. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be connecting these relays. After collecting the stuff from the chest it opened, I headed back to the Ark here to spin the data disks I'd found. I debated for a moment on what to unlock, deciding on the Ark catalyzer tool that repairs damaged ship parts. I have a feeling I'm gonna be needing that. Back on Bessie, I used the schematics I'd picked up, a gun for my ship, and a gun for me too. This one was a revolver called Clear Reticence, low rate of fire, high stopping power. Sounds good to me. I was curious to test it out, but got sidetracked watching another big monster flying off in the distance. This one looked different though, more like a glowy space whale. It continued on its way, and so did I, not taking very long at all to find some turrets to try my new gun on. It wasn't kidding about high stopping power. This Reticence revolver was definitely doing more damage than the Pulsar rifle. I finished up the puzzle they were guarding as the sun rose on day 15. In the chest, I got a new explorer's shirt that had a bit of extra armor. I continued exploring the smaller floating spike islands, eventually ending up on one which had a databank just hanging out in the open. I scanned it for its disk and then made my way to the Ark computer again, where I unlocked a wing and a whole new tier of stuff. Continuing to search the island, I found another turret with this little robot that led back to the door with the targets. Then followed this path to another pillar puzzle. I was so focused on the green glowing from it, I didn't even notice this shotgun turret. Didn't see you there. Took it out and one more too, then connected the pillars. On my way back to the ship, I killed another of these Sarehorn bucks, collecting its meat and putting it on to cook. Then inside the ship, I finally used some of those Sabarian tech briefs I've been finding to upgrade the Clear Retinance revolver schematic. It increased the damage, but I think I'll have to make a new one for it to take effect. Now I think I might chop down some trees. I started day 16 fighting more Modus beetles for more ore, then fought another auto turret to get to a puzzle. This way, and that way. Yay! Oh, I missed the whole pillar. After finishing it, I found another turret and a robot that led me to this relay I'd already been to, so I kept exploring. Eventually, finding another turret I hadn't destroyed yet in this cave, with a new door to open. This one had some arrows to turn, several chests inside it, and another area with green markings. There were switches I had to parkour to, and I did pretty well, hitting the switches and climbing all the way to the door without falling even once. Except the door was still closed and I must have missed one. It didn't take me long to find it, but after flipping it, I managed to fall all the way back to the bottom. Daggone it. I made the climb one last time and the door was open finally, leading right to a chest and a databank to scan. Well, that was fun.
Now how are you going to get back on? Not fall to your death?
Like this.
Woo! Spider-Man! Oh no.
I was feeling sure I'd found pretty much everything on this island, except one little set of these spikes I hadn't been able to swing to, so deciding it was time to head to a new island anyway, I took the boat to check it out. It was a good thing I did. There was another databank sitting right on top of the biggest one for me to scan. The chests were nice to find too, but these seemed to be the prize. I set off to the west this time, finally realizing I should use the direction of the wind to my advantage. As I sailed, I went below deck to craft some ammo, but was afraid to stay there for too long. What if one of those big flying whales shows up? Turns out that wasn't what I needed to worry about though. It's me. I'm what I should worry about. I rolled myself right off the deck by accident. I managed to catch myself with the grappling hook and dangled below the ship as it barreled full steam ahead right towards the island. It was funny enough until I realized my boat was going to crash into this statue. Oh! Then, it was still pretty funny, honestly. I didn't fall into oblivion, at least. Oh, what have I done? This island introduced me to a new sniper turret hiding in the bushes behind its chest. And I learned that trees don't make the best cover. I found a cave next with a databank inside and a switch that started this signal, "Time to swing." I swung around to the different relays, pointing them to the next one and following the trail, eventually landing right by this drone spawner at the last one. I ate some food to up my stats, then pointed the final relay before going in to deal with the spawner. It was much easier to deal with using my reticence revolver. I focused on taking it out, then finished the drones. I got a new ship piece and some pants I already had, then swung my way back up to the top of the island to find something else to get into. A bright orange glow caught my eye there. It was a cave full of the burning coral. I tried to use my saw and hammer to collect it, but I guess that's not a thing. This place connected to the cave I'd been in just earlier with the signals, and I thought I'd been through this entrance to it before, so I was quite surprised to find a drone spawner and an auto turret when I walked outside. Oops, excuse me. I tried to take out the spawner first, but the auto turret wasn't making it very easy, and instead I made a run to cover outside the cave. It was a bit of a mess, with the darkness and drones making things much harder. With the sun rising, I finally finished off the spawner and the last of its drones. Then I used the lines on the floor to connect these pillars to unlock these boxes. Followed a robot into this secret place and found another arc. There was no one alive on this one, and the AI from before, Asa, was now controlling it. I spent some of the data disks I'd found at the computer, unlocking the next tier of the shipyard. I had 2 more to spend, but decided to wait and maybe save up for this Atlas enhancer that improves the lift and energy of your ship. Back outside, I ran into another sniper turret. Its purple beam helped me spot it in the leaves to take it down with my rifle, and behind it, I found another databank. There was a locked chest too, and some pillars nearby with symbols on top. I went to look by the chest, and sure enough, there was a pattern on the wall showing how to connect them. When I finished it, the chest unlocked. I just couldn't carry any of it, because my inventory was so full with all sorts of other junk. I switched things around enough for a few more things to fit, and headed back to the Ark. I'd planned to unlock the Atlas enhancer. Instead, though, I changed my mind and decided to get the forge and stove for my ship anyway. I'd just been rebuilding them at each island, but that was starting to get old already. When I got back aboard my ship, I'd collected a ton more of the tech pieces and upgraded the clear retinance and pulsar schematics. Then I made myself a new higher level version of each. Next, I decided to relocate my ship, which I was getting a little better at driving. I didn't crash it at all this time. I'd unlocked a new tool to repair it, but hadn't found the repair module I needed to make it yet. Guess I should probably be more careful till then. I ended up parking it at this arrow puzzle near a statue. It was easy enough, and I ended up spending the rest of the evening building a shipyard and trying to decide where to put my new ship-friendly stove and furnace. That night, I jumped down this hole the arrow puzzle had opened, and there was no going back with all these ungrappleable walls. After a bit of gliding, it opened up to show this light I could grapple to, and what looked like a bunch of spikes under that. It was dark, but I managed to swing myself up over a wall and glide into the next area, which was much worse. This place was full of turrets trying to shoot me as I slid down the ramp. Then I was panicking so much I could hardly hit the button to open the door at the end. Once I got it opened, I found myself on another slide, where I did a horrible job trying to dodge these spikes. I was worried I'd find something worse through this cave next, but instead found myself in a treasure trove with a bunch of boxes and a databank to scan. I made my way out of that place, and ended up at these pillars stuck out of the side of a cliff next, with this shotgun turret that really didn't want me to connect them. After I dealt with it, I started working on connecting the pillars. They didn't really want to get connected either, though, and I spent half the day swinging around trying to make it over the second pillar. When I finally got them all done, I headed back up to find it had unlocked more boxes, and there was a databank here too. I took a break to dump some stuff off at Bessie, and made myself some spicy tomato sauce for dinner, also upgrading this new sail schematic while I was at it. Then flinging myself right off a cliff and swinging my way over to the Ark again. I had plenty of discs now to unlock that Atlas enhancer. This opened up the 6th tier in the tech tree, including a new propeller engine among some other things. Ooh, back to hunting more databanks. And maybe this Sairhorn buck too. Before daylight the next morning, I found some more turrets still moving, which meant I probably hadn't been here yet, so I carefully picked them off and scanned one more databank they were guarding. Then I followed another robot to a cute little hidey spot I'd have never found without it, swung around the island a little longer, and then decided to pack my things up and head off to the next island. I sailed with the wind at first, following it east, until I realized it was taking me back to where I came from, and rerouted myself a little bit more northeast instead. I did a bit of crafting on the way and arrived just as the sun was setting. Time to explore. This dome-shaped building held a chest and a databank. Then another robot led me to a chest, and I glided down to find this databank in a cave beneath it. After taking out a beetle near this big grated hole, I made my way further in the cave where I found several drones. My upgraded weapons made short work of them, and I followed this tunnel to find a locked door next. Not sure how to open it, I turned around and ended up outside another entrance to the cave, where another databank was lying and this giant green gun was firing off at the wall. It said anti-air turret, so I assumed it must be trying to shoot my ship on the other side. Good thing I didn't try to land here. It didn't seem to be bothered by me, and I started shooting it while it shot the wall. Even with my upgraded rifle, it took several shots before it finally exploded, giving me a new heavy power core and some armor-piercing cannon ammo. Ooh. I moved on to a nearby cave that was infested with drones next, and discovered something interesting when this drone exploded a bird, and it dropped a whole chicken leg on the ground. I didn't know you could shoot those. Inside the cave, I found this big crazy statue with a button to shoot, and at the bottom, a bunch of loot. Then I wandered my way into another databank before finding this statue with an arrow puzzle around it. I got them all turned the right way easily enough, but then I couldn't figure out what it did. I checked down this opening, but only saw the statue I'd already been to. I probably missed something obvious, but ended up moving on to this set of relays up the hill instead. They eventually led me back to the start, opening this door to another databank and chest. The back door of this was that entrance I'd seen in the tunnel. Not sure what opened it, but it's open now. Then, back at my ship that evening, I'd finally collected the repair module that I needed for the arc catalyzer that can repair my ship. I'm pretty sure one of the repair drones dropped it, which makes sense. I used the new gadget to repair my crash-damaged walls, and after building a shipyard here, promptly crashed it again. I swung over to this big statue before the sun rose the next morning. One of its boxes tried to fling my stuff right off the edge of the island. I also found this little dome hole that day, with another databank and more boxes inside. There was a hole to go further down, but I could see it just led again to the big underground statue. Then I found my way to the Ark, linking the AI again and getting more info. Then using the discs I'd found to unlock steel ingots and something called a Saborian hip lamp. This opened up Tier 7 tech and something very exciting, an improved glider. Ooh. Later, I ended up in a giant cave full of the creepy Modus beetles. The bugs were easy enough to deal with now, but I still don't like them. They were guarding some loot I grabbed, more schematics and random things. Then, when I started collecting this new copper ore, it attracted some more. I spent a while collecting all the ore I could carry, mostly copper, but a bit of iron too. Dropped it off at the ship to smelt and learned all the schematics I'd found. I wasn't sure which ones I already had, so I just unlocked them all, and started upgrading this ship-mounted gun with all the tech I'd found. That night, I chopped down tons of trees for wood, this time to make some improvements on old Bessie. I started the next morning with a new sail called Galleons 4. Noticing the materials changed the stats, I switched things around and eventually decided on pure pine and iron. The new sail looked way more epic, and along with that, I added a wing made from pine and iron, and this traveler's stay sail on the tail. I started working on metal walls next, replacing the old wood ones with new, much stronger metal ones made of those steel ingots I'd unlocked. Then I added a few more things, including my favorite, this fancy bird figurehead. And finally, my first ship-mounted gun, this cannon called the Rapidar SSC-4. When I was done, I spent the night gathering ore, and then most of day 24 gathering even more wood. I needed it not only for building, but to make more charcoal for steel. Day 25, I decided to adjust the front of my boat so the bird head would fit better, which also opened up some extra room for storage. Then it was off to another new island again. I started following the wind west at first, but couldn't remember which direction I'd come from, and as far as I can tell, there's no map in this game. What did that island I was on before look like? Well, I'm not sure, but I know it didn't look like this one over here. So I changed directions and headed north instead, to this crazy looking set of floating pillars. Yep, definitely haven't been here before. I don't know if you can call it an island really. Its giant pillars were connected by giant vines you could swing from. I followed one to the biggest pillar and swung myself in a hole on the side of it. It was a big cave where I found lead ore and more beetles, of course. After checking it out, I swung myself out to this crashed skyship next, stopping to admire the sky whale off in the distance against the sunrise. There were a few boxes on board and a databank hiding down below. They make a sort of electric humming sound that can help you find them, or I might have missed this one. Next, this concrete place at the bottom of a pillar caught my eye, and I swung over to find one of the big anti-air turrets with some sort of bunker. Already hearing the hum, I wasn't surprised to see another bank inside. With a bit of effort, I managed to climb through the window to scan it and open the chest. Then, in back, I found a giant entrance I could have come through. It actually looks big enough for a whole ship. I flung myself around for a while, searching for something else interesting in hopes of more data disks, and enjoying the game's swinging mechanics. Eventually, ending up at this door with some statues above it. I couldn't figure out how to get in and found another door below it with spikes inside. As I tried to climb to it, something a little funky happened and I just up and died. Dang. I respawned back on the ship and decided to move it a little closer to the place I'd been exploring. When I swung back to it this time, I grappled up to this light and wouldn't you know, there's a switch up here. Once I flipped it, there were now buttons to shoot on the statues. After shooting them, the door inside opened, and I did a horrible job trying to get over these spikes to it. Luckily, they don't seem to be working right now. Once I finally made it inside, it was mostly made up of the green marked wall I couldn't grapple, with only a few broken pieces of wall I could hook onto. It didn't take me long to find this first switch, but then I couldn't really figure out where to go next. I found another switch when I accidentally fell almost to the bottom, and eventually one more up higher on the wall. But after searching through the night and into the next day, I needed a break and headed outside for some fresh air. I searched around the floating pillars for a while, finding another locked door I couldn't open, and this crashed ship with a box inside. No more databanks though. I did drift back to the one puzzle room to try again that night. Nope. Still can't find any more switches, or anywhere else to go. Day 28, I enjoyed a bit more swinging through the vines. Forget Spider-Man, I'm Tarzan now. Or maybe more like George of the Jungle. Either way, I think it's time for a new island. The wind was blowing east this time and I followed it, again with no idea which direction I'd come from before. As soon as the island loaded in though, I could just tell by the color I hadn't been to this one yet. Its grass seemed to have a little hint of blue to it. When I landed, I decided I'd just park here on the side I came from, hoping it would help me remember my direction. Then I hopped off, ready to explore. First thing I noticed here was a big new creature that seemed to be stabbing and eating something with its very pointy legs. Then this blue Sarehorn ran by me, and it had a scary looking skull in place of its level. Well, that's a little worrying. Next, I went to check out this building, finding nothing but a tree stuck through it and an empty room. I looked on top of it too, then swung down to the front. There were several of the flying manta, and I thought about going down to explore until I noticed these manta looked a little different. I could see something red on them, which is not generally a good sign, and then I noticed their tails had two very dangerous looking spikes. You know, maybe I'll just go see what's up with these blue Sarehorn instead. This one was a buck and seemed pretty tough. It helped a little, though, that it was stuck. Then I really wanted a closer look at Mr. Stabby Legs. I wasn't sure if it would attack me or not, but it seemed slow enough. Turns out it's actually called a nautilus, and it didn't seem to be bothered by me as it stabbed a beetle out of the ground for a late night snack. I was thinking pretty hard about shooting it when I noticed the grapple marker on its leg and let my more intrusive thoughts win instead. I mean, It does look a little like an AT-AT, right? So fully prepared for it to attack me, I grappled its leg and it still didn't care. Sadly though, when I tried to wrap it, the rope just went through the next leg. Well, darn. Was worth a try. Despite all that, I still wasn't ready to shoot it, moving on instead to see if those mantas would attack me. I swung down and hung around on this building nearby for a moment first, then dropped down to the ground when I felt like they weren't going to attack. Maybe they aren't so bad. Or so I thought. I heard this air horn and turned to see one was definitely following me. I stood my ground, ready to fight, until it almost took me out with just one shot. In complete panic mode, I grappled away as fast as I could, figuring I was definitely gonna die. But somehow I survived. I should have took that as a hint and left. I didn't though, instead trying to just drop down on the other end by these doors. It worked and the mantas didn't bother me as I gathered some new goodies that were laying around on the ground. Glass shards, electric filament, and a new fancy nylon cloth. Then I went inside the open door on the left. Finding it full of spikes, I carefully grappled across. Yep, I should have just left earlier. After respawning, I noticed a switch outside the doors I hadn't seen before, and flipped it to find it just switched the open door. So I went through the right this time, and it was exactly the same as far as I could tell. Inside, I could see where I died, and the turret tried to kill me again. I was ready though, and barely managed to get enough cover from the doorway without falling back in the spikes as I played peekaboo trying to take it out. I managed to destroy it and grab the boxes inside, but there wasn't any databank I could find. Maybe I'll come back to this place later. I cooked up some blueberries I'd found there and a bit of meat from the buck. Then before leaving the next day, I wanted to try shooting Mr. Stabby Legs. I hit it with my rifle and it didn't seem to do anything at all except make it walk a little more aggressively. That shell must be some really good armor. What if I shoot it with my cannon? The explosions were impressive, but the Nautilus was still just standing there, completely unimpressed. I spent day 30 traveling with the wind to the next island. For most of the voyage, I went below deck, cooking up some different things because I keep forgetting to eat. Then I decided to upgrade my guns even more, and just threw my old ones overboard. After that, I noticed another island off to the north, and not only did it seem close, but I was also pretty sure I could see an arc sticking out of it. The last island hadn't had one, so I was excited to spin some data disks and changed course. As I got closer, I could see this one had the bluish look to it, and worried it might be too tough again. I landed anyway though, carefully watching for any of those awful red-tailed manta. I could see a drone off in the distance, but no sign of manta. There was a really big courtyard here with a giant stone head in the center, and a robot to follow. It ended up going up to the top of this big building, which had 2 locked doors on either side, but I just grappled over to this little building instead. There was a very interesting looking corpse and a note he'd left behind. Something about a monstrosity below, I think? Did I read that right? I'm not sure, but it freaked me out all the same. I made my way onto the roof of the big building next with the robot, and followed it inside this hole. Since reading that, I was a little unsure about dropping in further, and lowered myself down Mission Impossible style. Turns out it was fine, except for these creepy heads. There were 2 buttons here to shoot for 2 different doors, and I hit the left one first, finding a databank behind it. On my way to scan it, I found these glowing red lights that looked a lot like eyes, almost like it was some giant robot. Looks like there are several databanks in there though, and I want to figure out how to get all those. Well, back to this databank for now. Through the door, I could see more red lights, and this one also looked like an eye. Worried it might shoot some giant laser at me or something, I was hesitant to go in, just running across in the end. Nothing happened at all though, and I scanned the databank before taking a better look at the eye. The other red lights around it were actually just another arrow puzzle, and once I got them all turned green, so did the eye. Then outside, one of the robot eyes was green now too. Past the other door was another red light, this one with a switch to flip. I zipped myself across to it easily enough, and flipped it, then zipped right back. The other light was green now, but the barrier was still there and I could see more light coming from the center. That made sense since there was one more room left in the middle I hadn't been in yet. I was nervous to drop down, after what I'd read, but went inside anyway. There was another arrow to turn and a door that opened to this mysterious-looking blue crystal. I thought something might attack me, but it never did, and I scanned the crystal before taking the loot. In the next room, I found a databank to scan, and this puzzle that was a bit tricky at first. It just opened up the barrier above, and I grappled myself right out. I went back in the big building to find all the lights were green now, unlocking a jackpot of 2 more databanks to scan and a ton of loot. With all the data disks I'd collected, I went straight to the arc I'd seen, connecting Asa, and most excitingly, unlocking this fancy Saborian glider. I could see it needed something called Saborian alloy I hadn't found yet, but that did remind me I could make this Saborian hip lamp. It took me a minute to figure out how to turn it on after equipping it, but turns out you just press G. I used my new light and took out these drones that night. They were guarding this flight records SDD, this box, and a databank to scan. Then I followed this robot into a blocked cave I couldn't figure out. There was some zinc inside to harvest at least though. I explored a little more and stopped back by the Ark to buy this engine, then did a bit of hanging to collect a few stacks of zinc before hopping on my ship and setting sail for the next island. The wind led me west this time and I flew right through a cloud on my way. Not being able to see, I was terrified of the giant monsters I'd seen flying around in the sky with me. Thankfully, it cleared quickly and I could see the next island off in the distance. I made it to the top of the island as the sun started to set, noticing what looked like the top of a databank in the ground as I glided down. I accidentally grappled it first while trying to scan it, but sure enough it was, giving me 1 more data disk to spin. For now though, I want to build a new upgraded shipyard. With this one, I could make my ship up to 10 sections, and I expanded the front of it, debating on if I wanted it to look cool or have more space. Then I almost ripped my head off trying to get the materials from inside my ship. Oops. Once I finished the ship expansion, I really wanted to add one of the new engines I'd unlocked, and spent half the day trying to decide what materials to use. In the end, deciding on an iron, steel, copper, and pine combo that seemed to work well. Then adjusting the metal walls and storage where I'd made the expansion. I took an exploring break after that, swinging under the island, where I found this databank and a few storage crates. I kept searching for a little while, but eventually ended up back on my ship, rearranging more things, and adding 2 of these basic square sails that night, hoping to speed up my ship even more. Eager to test out my engine and new sails, I set off early the next day to yet another island. I went without the sails down at first, testing the engine, then put all the sails down. It was definitely faster than before, and a little cooler looking. It didn't take me as long to travel this time, landing on the new island around noon. As I stopped, I noticed something moving and some damage numbers up ahead. At first, I couldn't figure out what it was and slowly started backing up. Then I could see several of the red-tailed mantas heading for me. Despite the upgrades, I figured my ship was probably still too slow to escape them, and thought maybe they'd follow me instead, jumping off the ship to lead them away. But it didn't take me long to realize what I'd done. My ship was still backing up, away from the island, and without me aboard. In complete panic mode, I ran after it, jumping and grappling to the bottom, where I dangled at the mercy of the mantas. With no time to overthink it, I swung straight onto the top, threw down a couple sails, and grabbed the helm, blasting full steam ahead as the mantas continued smashing the ship. Luckily, they seemed to lose their interest as I got further from the island, and I was able to stop out in the air to make some repairs. More cautiously, I landed on a different side of the island after that, careful to watch for more manta, then grappled myself over and started working the puzzles I could get to safely at least. This switch flipped, connecting some pillars, more electric pillars, and then another databank hiding in the base of this tower. There was a relay at the top of it too, but no signal to redirect yet. From this place, I thought I could see the back of an arc stuck out of the island, and headed there next. It was the 6th arc I'd connected to, and this time I got some info about the 2 moons in the sky. Then spent all my discs to unlock another upgraded shipyard, which also unlocked the 8th tier of tech, and this tier has a new grappling hook. Ooh. I followed this beautiful trail of rocks on the morning of day 35 and found this ledge with a relay. There was a locked door there with a databank inside it. Wonder if you can scan it from here. Yep. Still need to open the door to get in the chest though. So I shot this button and started the signal. I followed the relays, directing them each to the next one, until I got distracted on the way by this cave. Inside it, I found a couple switches, but never found the rest to open this door. But I did find these grubs I hadn't seen before. Then I made my way up on this place with these big statues and fought one of the blue Serhorn when this other one tried to sneak up on me and missed. That wasn't very nice. After grabbing a chest up here too, I got back on track and finished up the last 2 relays, at the end pointing it to the top of another big statue, and completely forgetting about that door by the original signal, thinking I must have opened something by the statue. I ran towards it, realizing when I got close that those red-tailed Manta were flying around outside it. Never mind, whatever it is, I don't need it. I went back to the boat for the night instead, cooked up some food, and built this new Saborian storage container I'd unlocked. It was a little bigger than the barrels and looked cooler too. Then stood on the deck and contemplated taking on those Manta tomorrow. I made sure to have a good breakfast on day 36, preparing myself to try to deal with those Manta. I watched them for a while before targeting one with my rifle. It headed right for me as I kept shooting, thankful the other one hadn't followed. When it got close, I used the grapple to yank it down, hoping to keep it from attacking while I reloaded. It did try shooting me, but hit this tree instead, and it wasn't long until I finished it off. Turns out these are called bull Manta, and feeling a lot more confident, I went straight for the second one using the exact same strategy, except this time there wasn't a tree to protect me. After it fell, I didn't see any more and pulled myself over to the statue. There was a hole I'd already been in, and I climbed to the top to see if there was anything there. Then I remembered how I'd gotten here in the first place. Oh yeah, it's the door where the signal started. I collected all the goodies and tried again to shoot Mr. Stabby Legs with my cannon. Then I hit the road to the next island. But with all the commotion of my ship getting attacked when I first landed here, I'd completely forgotten which way I'd come from again. As I approached the next island, I could see the arc sticking out of it and knew I'd been there before, so I changed course. I traveled all night, and as the sun rose, the next island got close. I wasn't really sure if I'd been to this one yet or not. It looked vaguely familiar. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I don't know. Pretty sure I haven't been to this island though. Off in the distance, it looked like a big bowl and was lower in the sky than the other islands. You know what? I think we're going there instead. Careful to watch for any Manta as I got closer, I landed near an arc that was sitting right out in the open. I glided down and checked in there first, connecting Asa, before heading over to this building. Inside the first door, I found a databank and some boxes. In the second door, I found something trying to shoot me again. It almost succeeded, but I got out of the way just in time before playing a game of peekaboo to take it out. There was an interesting statue in there, and some stairs, then some spikes with a fence guarding more loot that I never did figure out how to get to. That night, I found this barrier with a red light. I thought it might shoot me at first, then I shot it. I want that databank back there. I ended up following this giant pipe that seemed to lead towards it. It took me right to the arc and this old destroyed building. I didn't know it yet, but I just jumped right over the answer and missed it. I took a break from trying to figure it out and did some mining for iron. Then, this prime swinging opportunity led me right to a very interesting looking corpse and another databank. With the disc from it, I was able to unlock the pure steel ingot on the tech tree to help me make my boat even stronger. Then, speaking of my boat, I took it over to that red light and shot my cannon at it. Take that. Well, it took it all right, and it didn't change a thing. The light was still red, and the barrier still there. Dang it. I wanted to give it one more try the next morning, positive it had to be something to do with this pipe that seemed to lead right to it. At its end, I searched again, and just as I was about to give up, I saw it. A simple switch on the wall right next to where the pipe entered the ground. Back at the cave, the light was green now and the barrier gone, giving me access to another databank and all sorts of goodies. Having finally solved that mystery at least, I decided it was time to move to another island and make my way east. This time I ended up at another bluegrass island, this one with what appeared to be a giant gun on top. Ooh, it is a big gun. Once I parked, I went to check it out, finding something really exciting. The Saborian alloy I needed for the upgraded glider. I hadn't seen it before at all, and there was also more of the nylon cloth and electric filament to collect. Then a big hole into the bottom part of the building. I was looking carefully for turrets, but never saw this one lurking up on the ceiling until I dropped in. I managed to hide behind this beam, but it was one tough turret and I ran out of ammo before I could finish it off. I quickly pulled myself back out, hoping it wouldn't shoot me, and went to the ship to stock back up on ammo that night, where I almost wasted that new Siborian alloy I just found to craft it. Better put that away just in case. It was still night when I went back, and I'd clearly almost forgotten about my hip lamp. Oh yeah, I dealt with the turret easily enough, now that I had plenty of ammo. Another data disk. And scanned the data bank and emptied the boxes. Then I found one more turret in the other corner. No! Back outside the building, I went over to explore this smaller island before grappling onto the gun to go check it out. On one side of it, I found a box, but I could hear the hum of one of the data banks and swung over to the other side where it was waiting to be scanned. After looking around a little more, I got back on my ship and flew to this little piece of island, where I found something called 2 PAL nuts and a chest with a fancy blue schematic in it called Methusen's Wrath. Ooh, I don't think I've found any blue ones before. I was excited to take it back to the ship and discovered it was a shotgun schematic. It looked like a really good one, but it also required the Siborian alloy I'd been needing for the new glider, and I didn't even have enough for that yet. With only 10 days left now, I decided to add some more to my ship. I had quite the collection of ingot and wood already, so I added a second wing and engine, mostly made of copper. It used too much energy though, and I finally got around to adding this Atlas enhancer. I'd been collecting stuff for it as I went and had everything I needed. Now if I can just figure out how to place it. I added this rustic scrapper machine gun too, then traded out the 2 square sails for this big one called the 4 Tenants. I'd upgraded it to level 10 and it sure looks cool. Then I finished up that night with a new triangle sail called the Galleon's Driver, and a second of these stay sails. Isn't she a beauty? Old Bessie's looking good now. Ooh! I set off again for a new island on day 41, but found myself at an island I'd already been to again. With no map, soaring these skies is quite confusing. I stopped to use the ark and then headed back to the boat. And then I forgot to record. It wasn't for long, but I did end up at this crazy looking island where more mantas chased me and my boat. I lost them and thought about just leaving, but instead decided to come around to a different place to park. There was a giant tower of some sort, and I pulled my boat to the top of it, hopefully up higher than the manta hangout, and dropped down to find a level with 4 red lights that I assume I need to turn green somehow. I could see some pillars to connect and a hole in the center, but I think power for those will come once these lights are green. So I glided down a little further, where I found a barrier guarding 4 databanks. Guess that's what those lights unlock. Even further down, I found a receiver and this robot to follow, but I lost it when I found this STD on the ground, then eventually ran into it again at this door. Well, I think it's the same robot at least. It led to a room with a button to turn on the signal, and another room with a button that simply flipped this light green. After that, I started directing the signals, where I came across some aluminum ore on the way. Thankfully, no beetles popped up when I collected it, and I got right back to the signals. Only this next one had a barrier blocking its path. As I was trying to figure out how to turn it off, I ran into one of the mantas. It looked like it was stuck, and I could see this one was called a tiger manta. I wasn't too worried about it, but as I hopped on this relay, another one snuck up on me and hit me for half my health. You know what? Maybe I'm just not ready for this place. I fled back to my ship and sailed away, ending up back at the first place where I'd seen those tougher red-tailed mantas. I thought about chickening out and running away again, heading to another island, but I didn't, deciding instead I'd try to fight them. I wasn't sure if these were the bull or tiger manta, but I watched carefully, trying to get just the attention of one when I shot, and luckily it worked out. The others stayed put and I dealt with this first one alone. I pulled the next one after that, and when I almost had it finished, the third one joined in the fight. It went better than expected though, and after the last one fell, I made my way down to explore. I hadn't been able to check out this whole area before because of the manta, and felt like I was probably missing something, but didn't really find anything new. Except when I wandered back in this empty building up top, where I found a stack of Saborian alloy. Ooh. Pretty satisfied with that find at least, I set off again to find another island. My directions were way off though, and as I got closer to this one, I recognized the big archway and statue, realizing I'd been there before. So I took a sharp right and headed straight into a cloud. Did I mention I really hate flying through the clouds? It sounds like a fun experience at first, but it's actually terrifying. When I made it out of it, I could see the Pillar Island again, which I'd definitely been to. And then this next one, I could see the green beams lit up and I knew I'd been there too. I might be a little lost. Thankfully, I found one after that I hadn't been to, where I scavenged this wreck, wandered past some friendly blue manta by this barrier, and made my way over to this mini island full of drones that night. It was always interesting exploring a new island, seeing what surprises it might hold. This one held one of the more interesting caves, full of these glowing tentacle-looking things. Inside it, I found pure iron to collect and more beetles to fight for it. Then swung further down to find a drone spawner. I swung right back up and took out one drone from the top. They were only the broken drones though, and I jumped back down to start focusing on the spawner. It wasn't a difficult fight, but used most of my ammo, so when I heard this next one, I decided I might come back later. Instead, grabbing a bit more ore and heading back to Bessie. I unlocked some schematics I'd collected and made more ammo, then realized I had the stuff now to make that new Saborian wing glider. Whoo! It looked really cool when I put it on, however, it did not look very cool when I tested it out. Yeah, this is gonna take some practice. No. Something there. Okay, yeah, lift up, not down. Don't I hunted some Sarehorn, then stopped to fight these drones, and felt a little better about myself. Bye-bye. Ow. Smash. Maybe I'll try the glider again. This time I pulled back and got the controls right, setting me up for a beautiful flight.
Whoa.
Ah, that's much better. But how do we land? Oh, no, Oh, not like that, huh? Still gotta work on my landing, though. I went in to finish out that cave next, nosediving with the glider again by accident on my way. Oh my gosh. But I got right to finishing the other drone spawner, and the one drone it managed to spit out, finding a databank to scan and several loot boxes behind it. There were 3 switches here too, and I flipped them all, still face-planting with the glider on my way to see what it had unlocked. Remember that episode of SpongeBob with his shoes untied? Yeah, that's me in this glider. All in all, I found 3 databanks in the cave, and made my way out through the barrier I'd seen before by the manta ray. The switch to open it was stuck in the wall, but thankfully, crouching let me access it to escape. I upgraded some things and organized my stuff a bit the morning of day 45, then set sail for the next island. I was getting close to the end of this 50-day challenge, and I needed to find another arc to spend the rest of the data disks I'd found. As I left, this mini island caught my eye. Pretty sure I see the top of a databank there. I hopped over to it and for some reason had a really hard time getting on top of it, then fought through the drones floating around before checking it out to find I was right. It was a databank. I got back on the road after scanning it, heading to this globe-looking place sticking out of the clouds. It was up way higher than any I'd been to yet, so high in fact I couldn't really even get to it. This freaked me out a little and I was hesitant to approach. It didn't help that the sun was setting and everything started turning dark red as I got close. Thinking seriously about turning around, instead I sucked it up and started grappling up. It took several swings to make it to the top, where I found a drone spawner sleeping. I face-planted myself right in front of it, thankful I didn't wake it up, then bandaged myself and ate some food before moving into attack. The spawner itself wasn't really that bad. The broken drones that came out of it, though, seemed a lot tougher than usual. As the sun rose, I continued exploring, this time dealing with several combat drones that were floating around. And I wasn't surprised to find that they were even tougher. I picked them off one by one and found a hole next to drop into. It was lined with the ungrappleable walls though, which meant it was only one way and I was running low on ammo. I thought about not even going down it at all. Instead though, I carefully glided my way back down to the ship to make some more ammo. No. Ow. I cooked these beans I'd found too, then swung right back up. I grappled myself to the top ledge, then slowly slid down into the darkness. It seemed fine at first. I grabbed a box and found this silver ore. Then I held this statue's hand as I dropped down into another hole. Will you hold my hand? I pulled myself up when a turret started to shoot me. Then I tried to shoot it while hanging, but that didn't work out at all. So I dropped in to find it wasn't alone. After finding cover, I did an awful job having a shootout with them, barely managing not to die. Once I took them out, I hit a few buttons to unlock the loot and this door before continuing through a few more sets of switches and swinging. I eventually ended up finding more turrets at a place with these platforms to cross. I made it past the first 3, but this third one blasted me back right into some beams and ended me. Just like that. Daggone it. It had taken me a whole day to get that far, and judging by the health of the turrets, I think I was maybe a little in over my head. I could have gone back and collected my stuff, but with only a few days left, I didn't think it was worth it, and instead set off for another island. I needed to find an ark and then do some more work on my ship. I was hoping I might be able to take on one of the big flying monsters by the end, which I guess is called a herald, and must be what this quest in the corner is talking about. By evening, I made it to an island to the east. I didn't see an ark on it, but it had a giant hole in the middle with a barrier at the top. I could see different levels inside it, and swung around to the bottom of the island to find the entrance. There was a databank there to scan, but I had to make a quick run back to my ship for the Atlas lifter to move this rock before I could go any further.
Oh, what the heck?
Turns out it was hiding another bank and a quick puzzle. Then I followed the robot it activated. I did an interesting climbing section it led to over some spikes, and then continued back to the big hole. It had more drones to fight, switches to flip, relays to redirect, turrets to peekaboo, buttons to hit, and another databank to scan. Before I knew it, all the barriers were gone and I was swinging my way back out the top, with a new blue tier soldier's mask I'd found. No time to spare though, it's off to find an ark again. The next island I arrived at was new, and I hadn't seen an ark from this side yet, but it looked promising. As I landed, I found it was infested with drones, and one Sarehorn that had to stick its nose in the fight. There was a new sniper drone I hadn't seen yet in this bunch, but it exploded all the same eventually. Once they were all cleared out, I set myself up a shipyard and got right to work on improving my ship. I added another cannon, then was able to add 2 more frames with my upgraded shipyard and stuck them on top. I used pure steel for the walls around it and wandered off next to check out this cave the drones had been guarding. No! Honestly, I really didn't have time for this, but just couldn't resist, hoping to find one more data disk. I got my wish and scanned it, continuing into this room to find 3 robots to follow. Only I definitely didn't have time for that. Still got time for this pillar puzzle though, and maybe just a quick relay run too. That ran me right into a turret. It turned out to be perfect timing really. Once I destroyed it, I noticed this strange streak of light floating, and right behind it, the glowing space whale off in the distance. Since I was set on fighting one for day 50, it couldn't be more perfect. Then as I swung around to get a better look at it, I swung right into an arc. Guess it could be more perfect. I unlocked the better grappling hook this time and an even better shipyard, giving me a sneak peek of the next tier, before rushing back to my ship the next morning to get ready to chase down the big whale. I had the stuff to make the grappling hook, but no time to play with it. Then quickly started making more cannon shells and hit the sky. I could still see it flying off in the distance, and despite the wind even being sort of in my favor, it still took me most of the day to catch it. As I got closer, I tried shooting to get it to turn around. It didn't even flinch. I tried my cannon next, a little too far away at first. Then I could see the explosion as it hit its back. Oh, I got him!
Yeah.
Still no reaction. Turns out this guy isn't a herald after all. And no matter what I did, it was completely unfazed and just kept floating about its day. I was honestly a little relieved that it didn't just swap my ship out of the sky. turned around and set off looking for the other monster I'd seen. Sadly, I didn't find it that day, but I sure had a ton of fun over this 50 days and built a really cool skyship. A big thanks again to Bossa Games for sponsoring this video. You can go check out the game for yourself in early access on Steam through my link in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments what challenge I should take on next.